This is 0 kilometer on the Bunchgrass-Wiseman Forest Service Road at about 41 kilometer on the North Fork Road. This is at about 100 meters up the Wiseman Forest Service Road. You can see this road's been neglected with grading. Big puddle like this one laying right on the road, and the water can't get off into the ditch lines. Here's another shot showing just how deep those holes are on the road. It's got to be, I don't know how deep the water is there, but it's probably 14 inches, 16 inches deep. This road really needs crowning and grading. This is at 0.6 of a kilometer on the Bunchgrass-Wiseman. The water's running down, has been running down the road. It's washed, lots of fines. Looks like it's coming from across the upside of the road, right across the road and into the other side. This is at 0.8 on the Bunchgrass-Wiseman. A really good example of greater berms on the outside, and the water has been forced back onto the road here. A steep up ahead, coming down from a very steep grade, and you can see the washing down the road. And on the other side is the same. And the berm again, not allowing the water to get off the road. And the road has become a ditch, basically. Poor grading practices. It doesn't look like it's been graded for a while anyway, but this is at 1.7 on the Bunchgrass. You can see the ruts in the road, and this is on a fairly level grade for the road. This road hasn't been graded and shaped in many years. Look at the size of the trees in the ditch line. This road really needs shaping, and the ditch lines need to be reestablished. Must be 10 years since they've had a grader on it, and I think they're hauling out of here right now. Well, not today. Three kilometer on the Bunchgrass FSR. This road was at one time well constructed. This is good road building material here. It would be easy to grade. The ditches were well established originally. Look a little fishy now, but the road needs to be shaped and graded. It has stood up well, all things considered. Again, you can see the material, the size of the trees in the ditch line. There hasn't been a grader in those ditch lines for a long time. 3.6 on the Bunchgrass. showing the depth of rutting here. This is probably caused mostly because the water pools there and the road stays soft from the water being on it, and there's a berm there. It needs grading and shaping. .6 on the bunch grass. Little logging block here. You can see there's been some damage to the road from the equipment from the logging, and not too serious, but if it's left like that when the logging is completed, then that's a damage to one of the public assets, the road. You can see the ditch line there on that side. Doesn't look like there was a ditch line on the other side where the damage is. Anyway, just something often I've seen where they have logged and damaged the road in the process of logging and just left it like that. And that's a loss to the public. Another shot of the Bunchgrass Road where the logging was. Damage to the road again here, and damage to the ditch lines, although they were pretty much brushed in. Ditch lines need to be reestablished. The road needs shaping and grading. There's the slash piles. Little bit of timber left. Small amount of deck stuff. .5 kilometer on Bunchgrass. You can see the debris, logging debris in the ditch lines. The road is rutted, and it definitely needs crowning, and the ditch lines reestablished. There was a culvert here. According to that, it says culvert on the ribbon. Oh, there is one there. There's what the culvert looks like. The road grade is getting fairly steep here. I assume this is the lower end of the culvert, although I can't see it at all. It's been filled in. .2 on the Bunchgrass. Just another culvert. Looks like the equipment walked right up here where the culvert is, Supposedly it's marked as culvert. Oh, there it is. I'll just show you here. It says culvert. Someone's marked them. This is what the culvert looks like. That's the upper side. This is what the ditch line looks like. Not impressive. And there's quite a steep grade coming down to this culvert. And so if we had a big rainstorm now, the water would have no way of getting across through that culvert. It would end up on the road and going down this steep grade. And this is what the lower side of the culvert looks like. There's the ditch that runs out from the culvert. And where that culvert might be, I don't see any sign of it at all. About 5.2 on the Bunchgrass. Fairly steep grade here. Just showing the depth of the ruts. Virtually no ditch. A berm on the outside edge. The water can't get off the road. It just runs right down the road. This is pretty typical of what the roads look like in logging operations, and they often aren't fixed or graded afterwards. They're left like that. I think this is a BC timber timber sale here. So in their road use permit, there's specifications that they must maintain a crown to the road and to grade it and basically leave it in good shape when they're done logging. So anyway, another one, just another indication of how neglected the Forest Service roads are, and there's something seriously wrong with the enforcement and maintenance on these, particularly not only by BC Timber but also by the loggers themselves. Nobody seems to be enforcing the maintenance on these roads. 5.2 on the Bunchgrass. A good example of the type of damage that's caused by logging in some cases. You can see the ruts, the water still running down the road. There must be a culvert just up above, but for some reason the water's running onto the road. You can see there was a half-hearted attempt to establish a ditch line again. No water running in it. These sort of things are some that definitely should be addressed, and the loggers need to be educated that this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable from an environmental point of view, and it's certainly not acceptable that they would damage a public asset like the Forest Service road and leave it that way. That is willful damage in my mind, and there should be penalties involved. .4 and a bit on the bunch grass. A good example of the kind of damage that's allowed to happen to the Forest Service roads. I'll get a measuring tape on that to give you an idea how deep that rut is. It's at least 11 inches there. This is serious. There's no way, as far as I can see up the road, there's no way for the water to get off this road. So it's running down the road. Both edges are high. The ditches are deep. The ruts are deep. And there's just no way to get it off. This is pretty serious stuff. It shouldn't be taken lightly. .6 on the Wiseman. Another little block of logging here. I just wanted to show you. Look how steep this grade is, and it's going to collect quite a bit of water, this one, I would think. There's a culvert here, and they have made an attempt to clean it out. I'll get down a little closer here. There's the end of the culvert. It's fairly clean, but it could have a bit more debris removed. This is what the ditch line looks like. They've tried to clean it up a little bit, I think. It's probably a little iffy, but it might bring water down there. Just take a look at the lower end of the culvert. This is what the ditch line looks like on the road below where the culvert crosses. They're basically non-existent. They've marked it as being a culvert. Sorry, just about fell in the rhubarb there. I don't see the lower end of the culvert, but I guess it's here somewhere. See if I can get out of the ditch. This is what the ditch looks like. I've kind of scratched it a little bit with something, but it's not really effective. You can see here there is no ditch. Well, we can say a lot of bad things about loggers, but they got to be pretty brave guys too. Look at how steep that bank is where they've been skidding logs down there. I'm glad it isn't me. This really needs some cleanup. They have made some attempt, but it's far from satisfactory. And also you can see the berms on the outside of the road. This road's been abused for a long time. And somebody should be answering questions about why our Forest Service roads are allowed to get in such a state. Six kilometer on Bunchgrass, another logging block. The road's been damaged a bit from logging. Definitely needs to be shaped and graded. They have reestablished the ditch lines to some degree, but you see here it ends there, and basically there isn't one for a ways. So a little hard to see perhaps. See how steep that is where they've skidded down? There'll be a lot of water coming down there. And it won't be intercepted now by vegetation, so yeah, especially in the spring melt, there'll be a lot of water coming onto this road. Pretty big slash piles. I suspect there might have been a culvert right in there somewhere. I can't see any sign of it. It would have been damaged pretty badly from the logging if there was one there. Just another little spot that needs some attention. .3 on Bunchgrass. So now we know who's doing the logging. Mid-boundary contracting doing the logging. Enter 4. Enter 4. .1 on Bunchgrass. They had a little culvert problem here by the look of it, and they've stuck I think a piece. It looks like they've tried to join a damaged culvert, so it might look good on the surface, but I tried to look through it. And it's a very short culvert. And there's no daylight to see through that culvert. It's useless. You can see how much there's been a lot of water running across the road there. They have a little hump here at the culvert that stops it from the water that's running down the road actually gets off the road here at the culvert. That's what's on the road, but anything running down the ditch line would be forced back onto the road. That's this ditch line. This road really needs attention, and I'm not sure who's to blame, but if this is what professional reliance looks like, we should be screaming pretty loud.